Yes, how you doing? It's Sunday night, it's 8 o'clock, and it's time for Braw Cast. Remember when you were away and you used to have to sit through things like Last of the Summer Wine or Heartbeat and that type of thing because you got school in the morning? Well, bugger that. This is the start of a brand new week for you right here on Braw Cast. I'm Billy Kirkwood. Thanks for joining us wherever the hell you are, whether or not this is your first time watching the show or whether you're one of the regulars. Billy, what the bloody hell is Braw Cast? Well, I'll let you know straight away. We get to talk to people from all around the world, alternative lifestyles. We get to hear their stories, interests. We get to discuss stuff that you're into as well. And we talk to comedians, we talk to actors, we talk to MMA fighters, we talk to so many different people. We talk to barbers. Yes, we talk to models and people from the bearded community, the Brawtherhood, which is ever expanded, it's ever growing. So it's completely inclusive. So we like to do something a little different each and every week there. So if this is your first time, thank you for joining us. The way this works is I'm going to sit down and I'm going to talk to an interesting MFer from this ball of dirt we call planet Earth going through the world. And here's the cool thing. This month, we're doing something very special. We're doing our first ever Pro Wrestling Month, a Wrestling Month special. Last week, we got to talk to Big Damo, a.k.a. Killian Dane, formerly of NXT. He was telling us all about his career, what his plans are for what he's doing, and we are tagging some of these in with our friends over at Insane Championship Wrestling. I've got a huge event at Fear and Loathing, a two-nighter at the Barrowlands Ballroom in Glasgow. It's going to be amazing. One of the biggest events that have taken place since COVID-19 in the pro wrestling world here in Europe, and that is going to be happening next week. So this week, we are going to be talking to the Staunch Superstar, Jason Reed, right? I'm excited to talk to Jason. I've known him for a few years now. I tracked his career even longer than that, but I've got to work with him in Insane Championship Wrestling in my role as a commentator. And to see the evolution of what happened in terms of him really finding his voice as a wrestler during lockdown, being able to tell those different stories, the different characters, seeing it has been absolutely incredible. See, the thing is, I like wrestling. And wherever you're from, I know we don't get respect as wrestling fans. So if you're watching right now and you're not a wrestling fan, hang on, because I think there's loads that you're going to be really interested in that applies to the world, sort of creative world and storytelling and fitness. And hey, the thing is, Jason himself is a really interesting dude, really smart dude as well, articulate. There's big things in this guy's future. There's big things now because he's going to be taking part in a huge marquee match at Fear and Loathing where he's going to be taking on Chris Bungard, the bad guy Chris Bungard, who you might know as a Bellator star, MMA fighter, huge body of work and credentials in that world. And they are having a crossover match effectively. It's going to be, it's fascinating. These don't happen in pro wrestling very often, right? They really, really don't. And I can't wait to call the match. And as things are heated between these two cats, there's no two ways about it. So we're going to get talking to Jason in just a wee second. But before we do that, a little bit of business. If it's your first time joining, you're more than welcome. Hey, do me a favor. If you enjoy the show, head over to Spotify, head over to iTunes if you're listening in the audio form. Leave us a little review, 5 stars. I know you're good for it, but feel free to say some nice comments. Helps bump up, helps us get out to even more people. It means we get to do more like these wrestling specials. We get to talk to people because we're just at the tip of the iceberg here, guys. And we are just about to hit episode 80, which is mental. And of course, if you want to get something cool for your pal at Christmas, whether it's a gentleman with a long beard, whether it's a lady, head over right now to broadbeardoils.com. It's the best way to help support this podcast, to help us keep bringing it to you live and free each and every week. Head over there. Why not get yourself? They've got amazing apparel. They've got t-shirts, they've got neck gaiters, hats, loads of amazing hoodies and what have you. Head over right there, check it out. And why not get yourself some beard butter? Why not get yourself some beard oil? Get yourself some brushes, anything else you might need. You might thinking about it, because trust me, it's only top dollar. And we've had such people as ICW star Jack Chester modeling this stuff and so much more. So head over, check it out. There's some cool stuff there. Just coming up on Christmas. Get out of the Christmas rush. Get yourself some stuff. John would love to hear from you. Right. The last thing we need to do is, of course, a little plug and a little thanks once again to our pals Insane Championship Wrestling. You can head over and check out everything they've got going on at insanewrestling.co.uk. They've got some apparel on sale as well. But you can also get yourself tickets for an upcoming live event, and you can check it out each and every week on the WWE Network, 5 p.m. Right. Shall we dive in? All right, I'm very excited to get an opportunity to sit down and talk to Jason Reed about his upcoming match and a little bit more. We kind of jump around, which is always the way we like to do it here. Keep it interesting for you on Braw Cast. So heads over right now. Now, this was recorded before I had to go on the road to Aberdeen. So I'm going to jump straight into the boys and see what they're up to. Billy, Jason, it's over to you. Right, Jason, thanks so much for coming on the show. Really excited to have you on. It feels like last time we actually sat down and had a chat was just as we were getting into lockdown.
That's right,
back
man.
In the ICW lockdown days. But God, how long is it now? It's been about 4 or 5 months. We've been out and about, back doing tapings. I mean, you were doing all the ICW tapings right through lockdown, and it's kind of weird because you're actually one of the probably few competitors in the world that really got to turn into the curve and kind of emerged as this force in Scottish pro wrestling with ICW and international pro wrestling, because just so we make sure, Jason's now on the WWE Network and on NBC Peacock. Make sure to check it out. Yes. Merch is available at staunchmerch.com.
Absolutely, man. Yeah.
Get it in. So what was it like during that time, mate? I mean, obviously we did the closed doors matches, the tapings with ICW, and we were doing the ICW shows, ICW Fight Club. How was that, man? Because like this, did you view this as an opportunity to kind of really go for it, or was it a shaky time? What was it for you as a wrestler?
Yeah, no, 1,000,000%, man. Like when I heard, I think it was like maybe back in October of 2020 that we got the call and said, look, I know, as you know, there was a lot of contractual obligations, which meant that we needed to get in and start producing content and getting stuff out the door. When I first heard, yeah, I mean, I was really excited because I just felt like I could feel something that was there, and there was an opportunity for me to go and really progress onwards. So like before the shutdown, before COVID, I felt like I was almost treading water in ICW.
Right.
And I was really finding it hard to gain momentum. And then when this all came around and we had the opportunity to go and wrestle behind closed doors, probably for about 7-8 months, actually, end to end. I really thought it was going to be a chance for me to kind of come and rebrand myself, get the name out there, and really just kick on. And I feel like it's definitely happened. I've come out of lockdown back into these shows now with fans, a completely different wrestler. Not only different looking. I feel like I'm more aggressive in the ring. I feel like things are just fitting into place a little better. Social media, everything's just kind of clicking in the same place. And yeah, to be honest, man, I think it is really down to that period that we produced content without any fans. It just allowed me and enabled me to really get that next sort of that gear, I feel like.
And obviously a big bit about pro wrestling is telling the story, is talking at the time, not the people into the seats, but was talking people into, turning on the TV every Saturday to watch ICW. How did you find that? Because obviously I know you'd wrestled up in Aberdeen, you'd been wrestling for us on the regular basis, even though I still remember the reaction to you coming out at Square Go 2020. If anyone ever wants to see what is known in the biz as heat. Oh my God. I remember being at ringside with Jamie Kennedy going, who's next? Oh, watch this. I've never seen a more split crowd in my life. But during this time as well, a big part of it is storytelling. Storytelling, obviously. Had that been something you got to do a lot of? Because it really seemed to be like during that time in lockdown. I mean, obviously we had the business with BT Gunn. We had you and Coach Tripp really becoming a I don't want to say a unit, but kind of evolving as a unit, really.
Yeah.
How did you find that from what you've done in the past to taking that to TV and learning that art by baptism of fire? I mean, there was no like you say, we had to get content, get it done and out the door. How did you find developing your ability for storytelling in a pro wrestling ring?
Yeah, I mean, it was really central to the sort of progression that I've been able to make. Whereas before, I probably really didn't have the chance to go into the same sort of depths in terms of telling the story.
Yeah.
And now we're looking at this environment where there's just me one other person in the ring, and then coach ringside, we have all this dead air as well.
Yeah.
So, you know, when we have this chance where there's no fans chanting or shouting or booing or cheering, it's then down to us. And I felt like it was an opportunity, because in those little, you know, those little micro moments, I was able to then tell a story more so than I was able to do before, because I was concentrating fully on telling that story and reacting and showing the facials. Whereas before I was, you know, worrying about what such and such was shouting in the front row or reacting to him up the back.
Yeah.
Whereas now I'm just focused on telling this story. There's no outside distractions. And for me, it was perfect, because it let me understand, what I needed to do to portray that and to get to that point as a performer. And, you know, I was able to almost perfect that in a sense for those 7-8 months. So when it came back to actually doing the shows now with the fans, I feel like I was more well-rounded as a performer, because I had that time away from the fans to try and, you know, hone the craft and everything in a line, so to speak. But I mean, working with guys like BT Gunn, who's obviously been there and done it, you know, been on the top of the business for 10 years, was just amazing. Like the things you learn from those guys are just, you can't even put into words. And those people are responsible for making me the sort of competitor I am now. Yeah. If I hadn't had the conflicts and the fights and whatever with those guys, then yeah, I probably wouldn't be where I am now in terms of getting this traction and this heat, so to speak.
Yeah, it's in terms of making that transition from, like, I mean, I can only speak from a stand-up point of view. I got to do like Zoom gigs and what have you. We didn't have Zoom gigs at ICW. We didn't have like AEW wrestling, who at the time we're doing tapings in Jacksonville, but they had, I don't want to say extras because that's not the word I mean. They had like the boys were out watching at ringside just to create a little bit of something, which while odd, I still thought was kind of cool, to be honest, in its own way.
It was, different.
Especially when you saw what was clearly folks' mates marking out for their pal in the ring. I always thought that was kind of cool. I appreciated that. But you didn't have that, which so that had to be difficult, because that's like, if anyone's ever performed in music or acting or what have you, you do expect that instantaneous boom. That's something. Mm-hmm. But you guys, it was like you were making, and going all the way back to Vince McMahon and No Holds Barred, you were making movies. You were making drama every day. So it goes from what you would have done as a pro wrestler to effectively making, I hate using the phrase soap operas or wrestling because I really don't like that, but in terms of you're making drama each and every week. How did you, I mean, when the crowds came back, right, when you started hearing, you know, things were going the right way and crowds were coming back, did you get excited about it or did you get nervous?
Both. I was nervous, but I was excited about it. So I wasn't scared. I wasn't dreading the crowds coming back. I was excited and I was nervous to get out and perform again. And yeah, to your point, you know, when we were coming in for these, and probably what people don't know is we were coming in and doing sort of 12-hour shifts, some of the guys, in terms of filming, you know, starting at 9 o'clock in the morning and finishing at 9 o'clock at night. So we had to flip that switch and that mindset. So before we were used to going out and being wrestlers and doing a wrestling show, but now we were producing a TV show on a weekly basis. And that's where we had to kind of flick it. And that's where the opportunity was for me personally, was to kind of look at it from a different angle and then just go at it, you know, gung-ho with this sort of new format. But yeah, I mean, when we found out that the crowds were going to come back, it was just amazing. I think the buzz that was going around backstage, you know, around the boys and the girls was just, you know, different level. And then that first show back, you know, when you head out there and you get the guys going and you hear the ICW chants. And for me, like, I'd never really had the chance, and this sounds weird, but I'd never had the chance to experience that, but be at a half decent level. Like, I'd done it before with some shows, but no one was really invested in Jason Reed or what Jason Reed was. Jason Reed was there to make up the numbers.
You were kind of just getting your, like, your boots in the dirt, weren't you? You were just kind of like kicking the tires of it and just getting in. It was like, oh, great. Geez, everything gets shut down.
Absolutely.
Everything gets shut down.
Absolutely. And now, you know, I've finally figured out, you know, how to who Jason Reed is.
Yeah.
And we've got these, these fans back in who are the lifeblood of ICW. And you're standing behind that curtain and they're chanting and they're shouting and they're cheering for the first time in 18 months. That is like, I'm getting goosebumps talking about it now. Like, it's surreal. And you know what it's like, man, when you're standing behind that curtain and you hear them shouting, there's just nothing in the world that compares to it.
Yeah, the noise of a rumbling audience, just even when they're just rumbling, getting ready for the show, is my favorite of any other noise in the world. People go,
they're sticking up, man.
Yeah, what about the big reactions when they're just bubbling? When they're just bubbling, and you go, "Oh, let's take a spoon, let's have some of this." It's absolutely one of my favorites. We've got to talk about the reaction to you guys coming out though, which because that's what you see. It's hard to measure because, like, hell, everyone's locked down. Nobody knows where people's spaces are. All we knew is there was people watching every week. I mean, there was people watching and all around the world. But particularly here in Scotland, they're ICW hardcore, dare we suggest, the guys that were that first 100 people in the door. We weren't sure. I mean, I guess nobody was sure. I mean, you had wrestled. Obviously, you'd wrestled for ICW. You'd wrestled across Scotland. But there were some boys and girls on that show that had never wrestled in front of a live audience, which is wild. They'd been wrestling about a year and a half, but they had never wrestled in front of a live audience, which is crazy. I know a lot of them were nervous about what was going to happen, but the reaction for you guys, like the minute you and Coach came out, the minute the music hit, I just thought was tremendous because it meant they were invested. It's like you said, you had not really managed to make that connection, but man, they were invested. Where do you think that reaction came from the fans? Was it just the work that Jason Reed did, or was it the in-ring work, or was it a little bit of talking them in?
To be honest, it's probably like I think there's a few different aspects in terms of getting that reaction. Like, I think definitely one is like the work that we've done on the network throughout lockdown. Definitely. The second one, is probably the trash talking, etc., etc. And then social media has a huge part to play as well. I've noticed because, especially on Twitter and Facebook, I noticed that when there was posts going up, and when I really first clicked and kind of understood that there was something in it, so it was actually when we done the lockdown show last year on Zoom, and I quoted about something. I think I said, I'm not going to stop until I get ICW gold on the turf at Ibrox.
That's right.
ICW then posted it, and it just went wild. There was I think there was like something ridiculous, like 100 shares, 180 comments, and it's just people arguing amongst each other. And I was like, this is what I need. Like, I don't want people to cheer me. I don't want people to boo me. I want people to argue on social media over me. And I was like, this is it. And we just kept going from there. And there's little like nuggets that sometimes you put out and you're like, yeah, that lands. Like, they didn't like that, or they like that, And it's just about kind of sticking with the times, keeping the finger on the pulse almost, and using real life events that have happened. So like when Rangers go and beat Celtic or something, then I'll put out a post or I'll say something in a promo that night, for example, and it gets the reaction because it's real. Like, being in Glasgow, that hotbed is just, you can't avoid it.
And it's not just Rangers or Celtic fans. It's all football fans, all sports fans, and wrestling fans that don't like football get annoyed that that's an element of it that's getting brought in, and they know they don't like you, and it winds them up. Then you get, football fans. One of my favorite posts you did was, I think it was yourself versus BT Gunn. It would have been no holds barred. And there's a picture of you in the game day suit, and I remember thinking, that's fucking good. that's class, because that's gonna wind so many people up, including probably even a couple of the boys who were like, I was just gonna go in my t-shirt and my shorts and get changed when I got there. But there's you making a big deal in a presentation, which is all Jason Reed the character, isn't it? It's all there.
100%, man, 100%. Like, I'm so passionate about like our business, and I'm so passionate about ICW that I refuse to just like half-arse anything.
Yeah.
Like if you're going to give me a run with BT Gun, and we're gonna run it for 3 or 4 months, and it's gonna have this big finale. Like, you can bet your arse I'm gonna put absolutely everything to it. I'm gonna work out, up into that, and I'm gonna track progress. I'm gonna get the Ranger suit on, and I'm gonna wear it. I'm gonna get someone to film me driving to the venue, just little stuff like that. And I'm gonna post about it the morning of and say, that's me setting off now. Little stuff like that. That's what it's about for me, because we're investing people. We're telling a story, and like, for me, this is real.
Yeah.
This is what it's about. It's just about being who I am, and I'm a passionate individual, and yeah, I refuse to not let that shine through, especially for wrestling and ICW. So yeah, definitely, man.
100%. I got it. Just that anything that breaks out into the real world and brings it back in, I'm just all down for. More people should do it. Hey, if there's any young wrestlers watching, it's the way to get it done. That's all I've got to say. Make people care.
Absolutely.
Make people care.
Exactly.
Right, we're gonna come back to that, and we're gonna circle back in a little minute, because obviously we can go all the way back to ICW lockdown when we kind of ignited on another feud over there, and we'll come back to that in just a wee second. But we're going to talk about you in terms of what you've done in your career. Obviously, you've developed yourself as an athlete, and you've gained that experience. I know you've worked close with Coach, and you've worked close with many other wrestlers in ICW. But one of the big proponents, certainly during lockdown, is you're heavily involved with FPWA, 5 Pro Wrestling Academy, along with Andy Wilde. I think the whole way through lockdown, I mean, you guys were doing workouts, and I was sickening, so it was, honest to God. His son Jacob is in better shape than me by a considerable portion.
He's an absolute beast.
He's like, honest to God, doing burpees, and it's like, oh,
yeah, I know.
It does my nut in. But I know getting into shape. I mean, you weren't in bad shape beforehand, mate. I mean, I'm not blowing smoke or anything, but bloody hell. I mean, I'm not, and I've went, whew, that boy has got a body on him. And that's just, I don't even know what that says about me. I don't even know what it says about me. You've got yourself into phenomenal shape. And obviously you've been wrestling with the academy. What's your involvement with the academy, and are you passionate about working with these new wrestlers coming in? Because, and why is that? Why would that be?
Yeah, I mean, obviously when Andy first decided, this was obviously long before sort of lockdown and stuff, that he was going to open this school. There wasn't a bigger fan of the idea than me. I really pushed him to go for it, because I know how passionate and how driven he is, and I knew it would be a success. And I always said it to him, I was always going to be on hand if he ever needed help or assistance or whatever it might be, in terms of the school. But in terms of like the involvement for me, that's my home. I go there to train, to work out, to better myself, and to mix it with the aspiring pro wrestlers that they're trying to break onto the scene. And there's a lot of them. There's a lot of good guys there that are so close. And over the next sort of year or two, man, the scene's going to get a fright. But it's cool to get in and work with those guys, because I've been there before, but I didn't have the privilege of having a place like FPWA that actively pushes you forward. In fact, I probably had the opposite, whereas it made things a little difficult, and I wasn't I didn't have the right mindset, and I didn't have the people around me that had the same mindset to push me. But these guys have it all. They've got an amazing setup. They've got a couple of coaches that have the best experience and that are driving themselves to. And obviously, Andy's trying to actively sign with WWE, so there's no one going to be more driven than your coach, and that's just a perfect recipe for success. We go down there Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and we work out with the guys and stuff, and it's just great. It's absolutely phenomenal. And yeah, to your point, obviously through lockdown, we tried to keep the guys engaged. Yeah. We tried to work out together on Zoom whenever we could. We tried to get down and record classes and stuff, because we felt like we needed to give back to these guys that have invested so much. And it's all about building value back in. You can pay whatever you want for a training school and pay your fees and stuff, but it's about adding that value back in. How much can we really give back to these guys that are so passionate about wrestling? and make them just see what's actually available to them, and then just watch the magic happen.
And one of the cool things, a lot like the GPWA in Glasgow, is you guys have really built a community. It's not just, it's like CrossFit gyms in the respect of like, it's not just people turning up and, like you say, paying and doing their session and going home. People really seem to have developed a community. And I think that's really awesome with the new guys coming in. And are you finding that it's firing you up working with these new guys and seeing how, is there even a little bit of like, well, I need to stay ahead of the game in case these young guys are, coming to take my spot. It's old school, baby. You know what I mean? You got to make
1,000,000%, man. You couldn't have put that better, actually. I am absolutely obsessed with being the best. Like, I cannot even put it into words how focused and driven I am up here. Like, it's probably not even normal. It's just weird, right? I have this weird obsession with just being the best at everything. So when I go to training and stuff and, we're doing the drills, I want to, be getting up the fastest from the mat, hitting the ropes the hardest, throwing these strikes in that land the sweetest, all that type of stuff. And then if there's someone that goes in and does that better than me, man, I'm right back in there, because I refuse to let anyone be better than me. And it's just the mindset I have that's probably changed, over the last few months or whatever, or the last year. I just have this mindset that I'm obsessed with being the best I can be, pushing people out of the way. And once they're out of the way, that's pretty much it, man. And it's the same with ICW. When you get these opportunities, likes of, go and do these tapings behind closed doors, just be obsessed, be relentless with being successful and pushing people out of the way. Because once you're in those spots, if you keep that same mindset, they ain't coming back in. It's your spot.
Nobody gets number one by accident. Nobody becomes number one by accident. You know what I mean? It's hard work and you want to drive ahead. You hear that with all the big names in pro wrestling, all the real top dogs. I mean, The Rock didn't become like not only the top of his game in pro wrestling, but now the biggest movie star in the world by accident.
Right. Exactly, man.
One of those things. Yeah. I've never got the opportunity to really ask you about this though, but now we're talking about the big names and people that have worked hard. Who are your guys, both in the like big US promotions or big Japanese promotions? Who are your guys that you'll put on the wrestling? You'll put on the wrestling no matter what. You go down that YouTube wormhole that every wrestling fan, and we're all fans together at the end of the day. But who's your guys that get you stuck in that wrestling wormhole that you will go, I just one more match, maybe just one more promo? Who are your guys?
Triple H.
There we go.
Right off the bat, Triple H, like early 2000s, man. Oh my God, I could watch his matches. I could just sit and watch his entrances.
Oh man.
And I can turn it off, and honestly, that would be enough, because he's just so just a different level, man.
Yeah.
Triple H, Randy Orton. Just unbelievable talents. Like those two in particular, like I could watch any of their matches from early 2000s all the way up until the present day and just be lost in it, and I could just watch it again and again and again and again. I just think they are unbelievable. Just everything from the way they carry themselves, the way they look, the way they act, their mannerisms, their facials, everything, man. Just unbelievable.
Anyone like outside of the WWE bubble, anyone in the modern era that you go to, like, these are my guys, these are the ones I will watch, or the guys that maybe even I would like to work with? If they keep using that phrase in pro wrestling, the forbidden door, which I think is rank chat. Honestly, I just think it's, the forbidden door's open. The fuck are you talking about?
Yeah. Where is this going anyway?
What are you talking about? But is there anyone out there that you go, I'd love to do a bit of business with them, or I just enjoy seeing that guy and I'm going to keep an eye on him, see what he does? Any guys or girls, I should say, guys or girls out there that you keep your eye on, that you wouldn't mind doing some business with down the line? Because that's different. I mean, it'd be great to have you versus Triple H or you versus Randy Orton. Let's see if we can put something together. Who would be the guys you'd want to work with?
There's one name that's just, it's here. It's at the tip of my tongue right at the minute, and it came up as soon as you mentioned that. Big Demo. Obviously now he's back in ICW, and I'm just looking at him standing backstage, and I'm like, I'd like to go up against you. Like, I would like to stand in there and just prove to everyone that, this would be a match, not a mismatch, an actual match. So for me, maybe further down the line, I know he's got a little bit going on with Andy Wild at the minute, but yeah, maybe further down the line, that could be something that happens.
That's
I think.
An interesting one. That's a very interesting one, because now you've said it, it's like, that's going to be some good promos. That's going to be a good.
This is a big guy that, obviously prides himself on, being the big guy. Watch me. Give me 10 minutes on the mic with him and watch me rile him up.
Yeah, your spine buster. I don't think I'd mind seeing that. Could you get it on the big man? That'd be good.
I could get it on the big. I could get it on the big man.
Yeah, so. And the thing is, well, Damo, a friend of the show, Kate has come back better than ever. Like, I know, like, people go away, and even he did literally done 2 tapings for us, and I did remember thinking, I mean, you were good when you left, but you're back better than ever. It's only going to lift everyone up, isn't it? It's only going to lift everyone up.
Man, I am amazed at the knowledge. So I didn't really have the opportunity to work with him before he went. Because obviously, he wasn't really in the door at that point, and I don't really know him. But I am amazed at some of the stuff that he has shared so far with that one show that he's been at ICW. Just the way he looks at things, and just it's just a different mindset. You can tell he's had that experience of working at the very highest level in the game for some time, and it's just it's really interesting. To your point, he is definitely going to bring everyone up around him, and he's going to elevate ICW as well.
I think so. I really do think so, and it's going to be said that. But that's great on the other side of Fear and Loathing potentially saying Reed versus Damo. I think that's a money match. I don't make the matches though. I don't book anything.
You're
else.
right, man. You're right.
Just a man saying that. I think it would be amazing. It should totally get booked. That's not my thing. Right. We've got to talk about Fear and Loathing. We've got to talk about Fear and Loathing. But what might be one of the longest battles and feuds, even in pro wrestling history, that has only got physical in the last 2 months, realistically. You versus Chris Bungard, the bad guy. Chris Bungard, Bellator star, MMA fighter. Where does this come from? Because I know we talked about it. How long have you guys been really going back and forth on stuff now? Because it feels like it's been a while.
2 years minimum. It's at least 24 months.
So what kicked it off, Jason? What kicked it off?
He just annoys me.
Fair enough.
He rubs me the wrong way.
Yeah.
Some of the things he says doesn't sit right with me. He thinks that he's got this perception of himself that, he's the hardest man on the planet and no one else can say anything to him. I absolutely beg to differ. So there was obviously a little bit of friction around 2 years ago. There was a little back and forth on Twitter. It kind of kept going on from there. And at the end of the day, I'm a smart man, so I'm going to try and get on board with anything where possible, and that's exactly what I tried to do on lockdown last year.
That's right.
Fast forward to obviously a couple of months ago, things certainly took a turn. Things happened that weren't meant to happen, and it's given us this Fear and Loathing match, which, to be honest, I don't really know how it's gonna pan out. I don't. All I know is I will not back down to any man, regardless if he's an MMA fighter, he's in Bellator, UFC, or whatever. I will stand my ground, and that's what I plan on doing.
Do you think what had been said between you guys, because it did get quite heated on social media back way when, because we had been in lockdown, do you think it simmered under his skin? Do you think you occupied a little more space in his head rent-free than maybe had been let on for a while, and it boiled over when he took a step into the pro wrestling world? For those that don't know, we were back doing ICW tapings. Was it even the first show with the fans back? I couldn't be entirely sure. And it got physical. Like you say, you don't know how the match is going to go down. He's an MMA trained fighter. You're training night and day in the gym. How do you even go about approaching that? Because this is a pro wrestling match. Just to make this clear, this will be a wrestling match, a fight. I think it'd be fair to say. I don't want to. I have no idea what Thomas Cairns or referee's going to do, but this match is going to take place for anyone that's watching at Fear and Loathing at the legendary Barrowlands Ballroom. Fear and Loathing. It's our WrestleMania, so it's not like a light match. It's not like, oh, this is going to be like one and done or what have you. There's a lot on this, and that. So I'm going to ask, like, what is your mindset going into it? Let's say it's not Chris. We'll take the personal element out of it a second. You're taking on an MMA fight with his skills. How do you approach that, Jason? How do you go into that?
Well, first of all, I don't crumble under the pressure, which I believe 95% of our roster would.
Right.
Okay. So I have absolutely no problem being in the kitchen whilst it's hot. It suits me. I thrive. Second of all, I find myself an MMA coach.
Right.
And I work with them. I don't, again, 95% of our roster continue to train as normal in a wrestling ring, whatever. I get an MMA coach. I understand the basics of MMA. I train and I make sure that I can reverse all of his holds that he likes to apply. And I make sure that I've got down and I understand how to put him in holds and make his life uncomfortable in that ring. So certainly that's my perspective. That's certainly the way I've went about things heading into the match next Saturday. I want to give myself the best chance of success. I feel like I'm able to stand my ground as it is. This guy obviously has a unique skill set that, again, most of the other guys in ICW don't have. So it's my job as a professional to get on that level as quickly and as efficiently as possible. So that's certainly my mindset going into it. I then look at the MMA fights that said person's had. Has he won the majority of them? When he loses, how is he losing? Why is he losing? How long do the matches last? Can he go over 5 minutes? In this case, the guy can't. So fine, I weather the storm for 5 minutes and then we see what happens. People are writing me off here. People think this is going to be a standard wrestling match and it's going to be over within minutes. They've got another thing coming.
Right. I mean, you're doing a lot of work into this, which is amazing to see, because, and let's talk about it, the scuttlebutt, there's going to be a sellout of the curtain. This is a pro wrestler taking on an MMA fighter. There's not been a lot of these in pro wrestling. Like, there has just not been a lot of this. In fact, I know it's the first one in ICW history, maybe one of the few ones. It's going to be a marquee match. Yeah. You and Chris just don't get on. You can see it when you guys are both in the building, which I know ICW management have gone out their way to try and reduce as much as physically possible. But you can feel the tension when you guys are in the ring. Bringing the war of the words the way we've had it recently, particularly with, Coach Tripp and yourself, are you going to be able to keep the cool head going into this? Are you going to be, because I know from the work you've done, you've always seemed to be one step ahead of the game, you and Coach Tripp. We've got Rudo in there, who is one clever, very crafty bastard. I don't think anyone can deny that for a second. Well, you guys going to be able to keep the cool head and get the score line we need on this?
I think so. This is our game. MMA, when you're in that octagon, you have nowhere to go, right? In a wrestling ring, the bell rings and I head to the outside for 4 minutes. What happens then? He's gonna try and get me. He's gonna get frustrated. What does he do then? Everyone's asking, are we going to be able to handle the pressure and keep the cool? What's he going to do? What's he going to do when he's in an environment that's new to him and there's 1,000 people shouting and cheering his name? What about that pressure? And he turns around and there's a set of ropes and there's someone standing ringside that's trying to get his ankle and trying to pull him and distract him. And then there we go. There's a steel chair lying there, which I keep eyeing up. What's he going to do then? Yeah. What about when he gets thrown into the ring post or the barrier? When I take him outside the ring, this is what he needs to think about. And
there's no steel chairs in the octagon. You've certainly educated Chris in that as well.
He knows that, brother. He knows that very, very well. And so does Rudo, because he's a man that's squirming as well.
Well, like I say, we've got two managers, two coaches, shall we say, at the top of their game. A huge pedigree. We've got two amazing athletes. It's going to be a hell of a match. Whatever happens, it's going to be a hell of a match. But just to talk just a little bit beyond that, and we do have to talk about this, I want to come back to a statement that you made, and you talked about it earlier. You're not going to rest until you're on Ibrox with ICW Championship Gold. You're in a big marquee match. You made a pledge that you were going to get into the big matches. You got in there with BT Gunn. You've made waves through the pro wrestling world, and now here we are, Fear and Loathing, our WrestleMania. Win, lose, or draw. And I'm not saying that to rile anyone up. Win, lose, or draw. It's a big money, big marquee match. It means you've jumped up that level. What's next for Jason Reed? What's next? I'm not casting any aspersions over Chris Bungard or anything like that. But where do you want to go next, mate? What's the plans?
Well, we keep this paycheck at the level it's at now, because this is a nice, sweet paycheck for this big money match next Saturday. Right. So we make sure that any future matches are the same paycheck for a starter. After this, we're going for that championship gold. There is absolutely no doubt about it. We tested the waters with BT Gunn. I wanted to understand how it would work if we just go for someone and take them out. What happens? How does that operate? And it works, so that's fine. We'll take care of Chris Bungard. We'll go for the whoever's in prime position at that moment in time, or if there's someone that thinks they are next in line, we'll take that person out. We will win that gold. We'll take it onto the pitch at Ibrox, parade it at halftime or whatever, and then I'll probably go and debut in Bellator after I dispose of Chris Bungard.
Whoa.
I mean, like in any weight class that I choose, like I know all the MMA guys find it really, really hard work to cut or add weight. I actually think it's really piss easy. So I mean, whatever weight class, I'll probably do that in my sleep. And then, the world is my oyster. There's going to be a lot of money coming in, that's for sure.
Folks, the Conor McGregor of pro wrestling. He'll talk you into the seats and you're going to do nothing. You're going to do nothing if you go up against...
Absolutely.
You're going to do nothing if you go up against Jason Reed. Can't wait to see the match. It's going to be amazing. And whatever you're watching, you can still get tickets right now over at insanewrestling.co.uk. They are selling fast, but don't miss out. You want to see the best way to experience. And I'm so excited because I'm going to get to be there. Hated match, and we get to see it live, Jason. We get to see it live. It's going to be it's going to be incredible. Right, couple of quick questions, and we'll let you get on. I know you've got a busy schedule and you need to get back to your training camp. A couple of ones in here. Favorite opponent in ICW so far? You've not got on with virtually any of your opponents. So, who would be your favorite opponent? It's a weird question, but. What would have been your favorite match so far in ICW? Let's start there.
Okay, favorite match in ICW. The match with BT Gunn is up there, where we beat him finally and popped him right through a table. Used the shame over to finish him. That was relatively fun. I really enjoyed that. Also, the steel cage match with DCT. Obviously, shame about the result, but I enjoyed that. It was a nice fight.
Let's see, what else have we got here? An odd one, but I'm going to ask you because it's there. And I guess that's where, obviously, the podcast is put on by Brawbeard Oils. You can get your stuff over to brawbeardoils.com. Jason, you may be the most immaculately groomed man in pro wrestling. How do you manage to retain that even in the middle of a match?
You've maybe not seen any pictures from the middle of a match. I certainly don't look like this. VO5 on the hair, brother. That goes a long way. A lot of hairspray, and you get like there's a little oil. I can't really remember what it's called, right? Basically, right. So when you come out of the shower, there's an oil that you want to put on that just makes your skin glow all the time. That's what you're after, and then moisturize, brother. Lock that in.
Lock it in, moisturize. It's an odd question, but it's a legit one, I guess. Why not? Yeah. Let's see what it is. Obviously. If anyone is thinking about getting into pro wrestling, this is from let's see. I can't read his name. Oh, there we go. Alan Craig. He's watching us all the way from New Zealand. Cool. He went, Jason, I used to live in Aberdeen. I would come and see you wrestle up at WrestleZone. It's great to see you doing so well. Amazing. Great to see. Yes, obviously things are different over here in New Zealand, but what would be your tips to an aspiring pro wrestler or a young athlete looking to make that transition and get into a wrestling ring?
That's quite cool, actually, that that guy's popped in a question after being in Aberdeen, now New Zealand.
Yeah.
Okay, brother. First of all, you got to work hard. You got to be prepared to work harder than anyone else that you come up against. Research. Make sure you know what you're signing up for. Research the school when you find one. Make sure it's reputable. Find out about the coaches. Invest in yourself. So if you don't know about dieting, nutrition, get someone that does. If you don't know how to, lift weights or, body comp, find someone that does. Surround yourself with winners and just enjoy the journey, man.
Love it. Great one. And finally, and I think, thank you so much for coming on to the show. It's been an absolute blast, but I want to do this. We want to get the go home. Imagine it's the press conference. We're at the podium. You guys are sitting either side. I want your final words ahead of your match with Chris Bungard. You've had some huge matches in ICW already, but this is the go home. What's the message you're sending to Camp Rudo and to Chris Badguy Bungard? What's your message to him ahead of your collision of Fear and Loathing?
I'm going to try and keep this cool because the two of them, they actually have no idea what they're getting in for. Chris could have stayed in Bellator, right? And he could have got the next main event when they were back in Scotland or Dublin, and they could have rode off into the sunset with his record intact, but he couldn't do it. He couldn't do it. He had to try and he had to get his stupid nose into pro wrestling business. Now he's going to come over here. He's going to wake up on the 21st of November and he's going to wonder where it all went wrong. He's going to wish that he didn't speak to Rudo. He's going to wish that he never came to ICW because Jason Reed's going to knock him out at the Barrowlands Ballroom next Saturday, the 20th of November.
There you go. Calling his shot, the staunch superstar, Jason Reed, right here on Brawbeard Braw Cast. I can't even remember the name of it. I tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to wrap things up. Make sure to check out everything that Jason is doing over his social media. He's on Instagram. He's on Twitter, which is always a good laugh as well. But you also got to check him out. My boy's on TikTok as well. So make sure to check that out. We'll put the links down. Make sure to give him a follow. Make sure to give him a like. Hey, listen, if you want to send some mean tweets as well, he's got another couple of videos to get out there as well. Please batter in. Right, and what I'm going to do is to wrap up this episode, I'm going to hand over to Billy in the future. Billy! All right, an awesome one. Thanks very much for tuning in. We could have kept going a lot there. We really could have. There was a couple of topics and controversial stuff we wanted to get the time to get into, but hey, hopefully we're going to see Jason again on the show, and make sure to head over and check out what he's got coming up. Insane Championship Wrestling, Fear and Loathing. It's 1 week away from this being broadcast, and you can still grab yourself tickets, go along, check out the show. It's amazing. And don't forget to keep following what Jason does. He's on Facebook, he's on Instagram, he's on TikTok, he's on Twitter. Head over and follow what he's up to, as well as Coach Shrimp. And of course, Chris Bungard, his journey into Fear and Loathing as well. I'd love to get Chris on the show sometime to pick his brains about that transition into pro wrestling, working with Rudo Lightning, working with Insane Championship Wrestling, and just the difference in that MMA world. I'm sure he's got some amazing stories to tell. So hopefully we'll get that hooked up at some point. Right. Again, thanks to Jason Reed for tuning in, and thanks for Jason Reed coming on the show. He didn't tune in. He might be watching now. Jason, if you are, thank you very much. Make sure to head over and get some Staunch merchandise as well. That's all we've got time for. We're going to be back with more on our Wrestling Month next week. I hope you have yourself a great week. Don't forget, you can head over, you can check out all the content on Brawbeard's YouTube. Loads of free stuff in there, blogs, tips, so much more. And of course, head over and get yourself some merch. Boom! I'm the bloody hell out here. Have I got any gigs to plug coming up? I'm in Dundee on Thursday. You can head over and check me out at Room 41. That's not the name of the gig. I'm in Dundee on Thursday. You can check that out. What a terrible plug. I'm also going to be doing a gig at Trin Town Hall, which is actually down in Ayrshire. Hey, it's just on the train line. Come down from Glasgow, wherever you are. Make sure to check that out. And a couple of other exciting things coming up. Right, so we've got time for a broadcast. I will see you next time, MFR. Have yourself a great week. See you later. I forgot to press the button. I'm sorry.